Hello, lovelies, and welcome back to Mama G Gear. It's Mama G here, and as you see before you, a few people have asked for me to do this tutorial, my unconventional tutorial, and so here I'm doing it for you. All right, we're going to make one of these pumpkins. As I'm speaking, I'm realizing that I forgot the fluff. So I might have to pause you and get fluff to show you how to finish them off. But anyway, this is the little pumpkins. I make them on these little, I think it's 22 pin, allegedly, knitting machine. This is a no brand name. I picked it up on Amazon for, I don't know, $20, $25 thereabouts. Also, I grabbed this yarn. Again, forgot what company, doesn't really make a difference. It's a DK weight, 100% acrylic. And one thing I did find, I do have the large Addy machine, knitting machine. And for me, I find that a 3-weight DK seems to work up better on my machines anyway. Sometimes if you get a little bit thicker of a 4-weight, like a Red Heart Super Saver, not calling out Red Heart on that one, but seems to skip or jam a little bit. So it might just be me. Other people use them and they're fine. Anyway, so that's what we need. Also, darning needle, which this is yarn from a hat that I literally just finished. And I often leave the prior project's yarn in it so that I could find it more easily next time I need it. And then a pair of scissors, which this is a crane, but I prefer to call it a hummingbird. And I could do that if I like. All right. Oh, I didn't get green to show you the leaf, but there's a tutorial on how to do these leaves. Real super easy. If I remember, I will pause this, get green, make, and show you how to make one of those. And then literally just sticks out of your yard. And I cut them with the heavy-duty clips so you get a nice straight edge. And a glue gun. So that's pretty much all you need. And fluff. I forgot the fluff, the stuffing. But we'll get that. Anyway, all right, let's get to it. Stop the babbling, woman. All right. So finding the center, you can go on the outside if you like. I'm going to try something. Supposedly this works. I might fail miserably, but if you have one of these and if you squish it, you should be able to find the center pull more easily. And that was a lie. So, nope, didn't work. Okay, this is fine. If this happens, where you get a little bit of a bunch, which works out great for what we're doing, I don't mind the bunch. I literally just pull and throw things around. Pull this edge out until I get the end piece. Because it's actually good to do this, like make a little pile of it backwards, so the bottom of this pile, of course you can't see the pile, the bottom of this pile is, the top is the yarn you're going to be using first. Sorry. Bear with me, folks. And talk amongst yourselves. I'm almost there at the end. That's why these are unconventional tutorials. Did I sing that yet? Unconventional tutorial. All right. Yeah, I'm not going to get a singing career, but that's okay. So, how do we feed these things? In case you don't know, if you do know, just fast forward. These are little teeth. Can you see the teeth in there? I know my background's a little busy, but I like busyness. There's little teeth, and this is your crank. And see how the teeth go up and down? It does all the work. And there's the black one. There's 2 black ones on here, the pins. I only use, I'll go to whatever, go to one of them. So I usually start there. That's only important if you're counting rows and perhaps other things. But for what we're doing, we're not counting rows. We're just going to spin around. And if it doesn't go evenly, it's not a problem. But you take your thread, yarn, and drop it in. And then we're going to feed. This is a little bit tough because I'm sitting on the not a flat surface, and this is a little wobbly, so I'm just going to put that yarn on this side. And what you do is literally thread it underneath in the front, then go around the back, then go into the front, go around the back, and you alternate the back of the pin and into the hook of the pin. See the hook of the pin? I hope you could see this. If I could figure out how to zoom, I will do that in the editing. But it's literally just alternating back and forth as you're spinning the knob. All right. And that's just pulling it in to the machine, you know, and it'll do its magic in there. All right, so now we're back to where we started. And I'm going to, this last pin goes behind. I'm going to hold it, and then in this little knob thing, that's going to hold the yarn. So I'm going to just pop that in there. And then this thing on this side is for tension. So I'll hold this as I pull the tension in, just so I don't make this, I don't want this part to be very tight. So that's pretty much fed in. And pull that down a little bit. And now I hold this in my hand as I'm holding the handle, just in case a little knot or a clump comes up behind it. Now it's a matter of literally spinning it around, and it's doing all the magic for you. See how it's grabbing the yarn and pulling it down into there? This is literally all you do. You don't want to go too terribly fast, you know, because sometimes you'll skip a stitch. Yeah, this is pretty much it. And I'm not counting rows. This machine doesn't have a row counter, where some of the larger machines, they actually have a row counter. That's important if you're making socks. You can make really cool socks on here. But for this purpose, we're just going to keep rolling it. And I don't have really much tension at all. I'm just guiding it through that part of my hand, just so that I don't get a clump that comes up and gets jammed. So literally, I'm going to go a little faster here, just to get it to the point. And again, not counting, just kind of getting an idea, because we're going to stuff this and stitch, you know, scrunch up both ends and then pull it in the center. So it's going to give it that pumpkin shape. Oh, I need a little bit more yarn. I don't like to use the tension coming out of the ball, because sometimes it gets jammed, and that will pull a tighter tension on your knitting machine, and might skip a stitch, because that does happen sometimes. I mean, I've gone and done big things and then skipped stitch and had to like undo it or frog the machine, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but stuff happens. All right, so I'm not counting how many rows, but I'm going to want my piece to be longer than this. If you could see, if you have a small one, here's the bottom, and I'm down here. I'm not down to that bottom yet. So, because like I said, it's going to be this shape when we're done, but this part is higher up and the bottom part is going to be longer. So this whole piece is probably from here to here, and then you squinch it. So that's giving you a ballpark on how long you want this. And again, I have to pull a little bit of yarn. Hope everybody's doing well and having wonderful crafting days. It's fall right now in my time, and I love this time of year because you get to really wear a lot more of your fiber art projects and wearables, and you get to make these kind of cool things, and it's appropriate for this time of year. Cute little pumpkins, and I don't know if you've seen my little bat that I made a little while ago. No pattern on the bat, just kind of wung it. All right, so where the distance is here, and this is not going to undo because the process of putting it on, it holds the stitch. So we're just going to kind of go around again, and you don't have to go to the black hook if you don't want to, or you could if you do. All right, so I think that's going to be long enough. What do you think? Let's do one more round for good measure, just because it's kind of fun to, it's good exercise. Not really. All right, so there we go. So now, how do we finish this off? Going to pull it out of its tension. And I always hold here so that you're not adding tension to the project. And then I'm also going to do the same here. I'm going to hold this part as I pull that off. So now we've got it just hanging. And you want to make your tail long enough because we're going to take it, undo it from the machine, but you're going to need a good distance of a tail. So for sake of argument, I'm going to just go, that's bigger than the circumference, and I'm going to do that twice. I think that's going to be in, well, maybe even a little bit more because we're going to feed around. All right, so let's, for argument's sake, I'm going to say that's 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I'm pulling out about 5 feet. You really don't have to do that because you can add some yarn. I think this amount's going to be more than what we need, but it's okay. So we can always cut it off. All right, now I'm going to take this off of the needle. Thread the yarn. Yeah, sure. I have threaders. I actually make threaders, but could I find one right now? Absolutely not. All right, so this is a little bit, this is definitely longer than I'm going to need, but the reason I'm going long on this thread is because I'm going to use this to wrap and go through the pumpkin to give it this crunch. If you're just going to make 2 circles, like if you're making an apple or something, then you definitely don't need it this long. I would say go like maybe twice around the circumference, you know, be a little liberal with that. And that's all you're going to need as far as to be able to take it off of the knitting machine. Sorry, I don't script these things, as you know. I don't script anything, so. All right, so here we go. Now, this is the fun part. Let's see if you could see this. So now, this one here, if you could see, this one here is getting ready to go underneath into that, all right? So we're going to slowly concentrate on that needle there. That's in there. That hook, this stitch is done. This stitch is not. So the yarn went under and into this stitch. So that stitch is completed. This stitch is loosey-goosey. That's why we need to take our darning needle and grab that stitch. And I'm going to, hopefully you could see this. I'm going to go in from the back of the needle, go into the stitch. This is a bigger needle, so it's going to be even harder. They do have flatter ones that work better with these. I just didn't think enough to grab it. But as you see, I'm kind of going around and I've got that stitch. I'm going to pull it up on the needle and pull it through. So now we grabbed that stitch. All right. And then we're going to turn the knob just a little bit. So pay attention to the black knob down to that point. Grab the needle again. I go from the back and then just kind of bring it up and grab the stitch. And as you see, I'm not pulling all the way through because I don't want to give too much tension. Now that one is done. So those 2 stitches are completed. And you can miss stitches and then it like runs like a stocking. You know, when you got to remember the stockings, we used to get runners in our stockings. It'll do that. Some people know how to pick up those stitches with a little crochet hook. I don't. But again, going behind, just somehow grabbing the entire loop. That's the goal. And then pulling it off of that. All right. I'm just going to give it a tug just to show you that you don't want the clump. And see how it's going through those stitches? And this is because I've got such a long tail. If you have a shorter tail, it's not going to be that much of a pain. Then we're going to go to the next one. And you can pull all that through near in the end. You don't have to do it as you go. Going to the next one. And as you get better at it, you can actually put a few stitches on your needle. And this is because this is a handheld. If it's a stationary knitting machine, again, there you have two free hands, so it's a lot easier as well. But this is just one of those little guys. Going behind, and make sure you grab that whole stitch. Try not to split that stitch because that's going to give you a headache. And again, I'm going to pull them off of there and just kind of gently pull it so that we've got that whole, see how it's finishing off those stitches? That's the goal. All right, so I'm going to put you on pause and go around and do this because it's easier to do it when it's closer to me than the way I'm holding it right now, and I will be right back. Alrighty, and I'm almost done to the end here. Another thing you can do is as you're spinning it, I'm sorry, I wasn't in camera, my apologies. See how there's like where the tooth comes out, there's this little two notches. If your darning needles, I just realized that stitch got stuck. If your darning needle is thin enough, you could stick it between, yeah, hey, okay. Technical difficulties. This thing comes apart. It's good that it comes apart, but then it's not good that it comes apart sometimes when you're trying to do a tutorial. Anyway, in between those two, this one got jammed a little bit. Hold on. That one went down into it. I know I didn't finish that sentence. So I'm pulling this back up to get it over those two little loopy things. Oh, you're not in screen. So you can also take the needle into where the hook is going down in between those two and grab it that way. That's all that I was trying to tell you, and did a heck of a job messing it up. So let me grab the next one, and then I'll grab the last one. And now we're done with the machine, though we are still attached. All right, so we're going to push that aside. Well, I'll put it here so you could look at it if you want. All right, so this is what we got left. Oh, lost that, but I'm just going to grab it up again. Now we're going to pull through, and this is what you get from the Addy, or the knitting machine. So this is what we made. And there's some stretch to it. Like I said, these make great socks. You just keep going. I'll do another tutorial. If you want a tutorial on how to make socks, I will do that. I make crazy socks with all different colors that don't match, and then do the fur for the top part, the cuff. They're kind of cool. But if you're interested, just comment below that you'd like to see a sock tutorial. Anyway, so here's where we started. See the little tag here? And this is what we just took off of the machine. So we're going to pull, and it's going to cinch. All right. Then I'm going to go into it just so that I can make this less clumpy. And we cinched that up. See how that happened? All right, let me clear some of the stuff on the back here so it's easier for you and less confusing. All right, so we've got that there, and let me grab, here's another darning needle. Instead of pulling that off and rethreading it, I'm just going to do two darning needles. So here's another needle. Yeah, I really got to find I really do. I make, I literally make threaders. And why is there not one right next to my needles? That would be the question of the hour. Really going to give me a hard time, huh? Yeah, we don't edit, folks. All right. So to cinch this up, I'm going to go through a couple threads, grab the tail that's on the project, pull that tight, wrap twice, hold it down, put my thumb where I just did the wrap, and then pull it through, and that just knotted it. For hats and whatnot, I often will then thread. See how you have the little stitches that go into where we just cinched it? I will often go and take the needle and go through those stitches. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you can grab them, it just doubly reinforces. Let me pull that and then we'll go more. It just doubly reinforces, so you, instead of having one thread going through, you've got two strands. All right. And I think I got it there pretty good. All right, so that's a possibility to do that as well. So now it's good and sturdy. And then I'm going to stick the needle right into the center and pull it right through the bottom part. Okay, so that's the bottom of our pumpkin, and we're going to cinch that in. So here's the top. Now we've got the fluff. So now we're going to stuff our pumpkin with fluff. And I use this as, because you want this kind of in the center, that's the bottom part, but we're going to stuff around. And you can manipulate that as you're going, but we're just going to stuff this baby. Stuff it. You don't want to stuff it too hard, because then you're going to really see through the stitches. Being that we're using a 3-weight yarn, you're going to see through the stitches more than you would if it was probably a thicker yarn, but I just don't, like I said, the machine doesn't work well for me when it's a thicker 4-weight yarn. Come on, stuff it, baby. All right. And you can mold it, you know, so doesn't have to be perfect while you're doing it this way. But then I'm getting an idea of, if I were to cinch the top, will I have this enough fluff? Let's just put a little more in for good measure. And like when you're fluffing any kind of, stuffing any amigurumi, you know, you can go in there and kind of push it and manipulate it a little bit so you're getting it to the areas that you really want it. All right, so I think that's stuffed pretty good. I think I stuffed that good. All right, now I did put this in the center pretty much. Now we're going to pull the outside. While the center is sticking here, we're going to pull the outside and do exactly the same as what we did on that side, leaving this tail out, and you'll see why in a hot sec. And do the same. Grab a couple stitches, wrap it around a few times, hold it, pull it through. Remember, this one's a lot longer than we needed it, but whatever. Made a knot, and I'm going to do the same here. We're just kind of going to grab some of them stitches just for a little added reinforcement. Oh, we grabbed the leaf. All right. Because we're going to be yanking on this yarn, so that's why I'm doubly reinforcing it. Let me just kind of mold it a little bit. We do not need the shorter needle, so I'm going to put that away. Now, pretty much got a ball, which this would be great for an apple, or even you can make like a toy out of this. You know, it's very lightweight. You could probably a lot of things you can create right now. You can make a snowman, you know, fill the other ones with more fluff so that it's bigger, because it is stretchy. So if you get 3 of these and you make one smaller, medium, and large, you can sew them together and make a snowman. I've not done that, but I'm sure it's possible. So now we have, this is the bottom thread, and watch what happens when I pull it. Yeah, it scrunches up, but we want that to do that. And then in the same process, I'm going to push down on the top as I'm holding the bottom and holding that tight, and then making a knot. Again, the thread is really long, so, you know. Then we got a knot, and then I'm going to tighten that. Then I usually go, when I make knots, I alternate the way the threads, like I'll turn one of the threads and then put the other thread through for the other direction of the knot. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it does reinforce it. But there we go. We've got a little scrunchie on the bottom, a little scrunchie on the top. And this is just, we don't really need this, but I'm going to keep it because I'm going to use that to tie off the big piece. Now this is how I make, this is how I make these parts. The whatever you want to call them, is I go from here, I'm going to take the thread and go down, hold it, and put the needle into the bottom. Yes, it does help to have a larger darning needle for this part. And then pull it up through the top. I still have my thumb on here. I definitely cut off too much of a tail. But see, when I pull that, it gives it that thing, that little cinch. So now I'm going to again I'm holding the center just so that it doesn't loosen again. And let's do another one right about here. Same process, pull through the bottom, into the bottom, up through the top, holding the thread as I go. And now I don't have to worry about holding this one because now this one is the one that I'm going to be concentrating on holding. And let me get this out of the way. And then let's do another one. Same process. I usually do about 5. It makes it so you don't have to make these even or anything. Yeah, the leaf. You don't have to make them even. It actually looks better if they're not even, I think, because it makes it look more natural. But I usually go about 5 times. And you don't have to do this, but it's OCD and you got to feed that OCD. I usually go through and go down in one of the whole stitches. It's not necessary. Put it through the bottom, pull it through the top. Sorry that I'm going off screen, but I'm, the camera, when you're doing tutorials, the camera's away from you, which is uncomfortable. If you're not, I don't do them a lot, so I'm not used to doing, crocheting and doing things this far away from my person, my body. All right, so there we go. So we've got little puckers on the top and little puckers on the bottom. And again, way more yarn than I needed. Okay, so for the next one that I do, or for you guys, you don't need that much of a tail. All right. So now I've got the 2 ends. I am still holding this taunt, and we're going to do the same thing and just tie it off. And that's pretty much the pumpkin part of this. They don't take that long at all. And I definitely have way too much yarn, way overcompensated. Because you could actually use like the beginning thread. That's how much we had for the beginning thread. You could use that to go a couple routes around and then use the other tail. So you definitely had too much yarn. But so that's the pumpkin. You can give it a little, roll it in your hands. I don't know what I do with my scissors. Oh, there it is. So if you feel like it, you can, put this through a little bit, just for the purpose of reinforcing it, or you could take it, go through in your project. This is another way to tie off if you're doing amigurumi. You pull it through your project and then press down as you cut and it disappears, which this one I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to cut it. And that was way more tail than we needed. Yeah, absolutely. That was really bad. All right, so that is this part of your pumpkin. This one I only did 4. This one we did 5 little puckers. I don't have the equipment to make this leaf, but if you Google, it's real easy. If you just look up pumpkin leaf, and there's plenty of tutorials. you just chain and then go around. It's really easy. If you can't find it and you'd like me to do a quick tutorial on that, I will. And then it's a matter of the ends. When I crocheted the leaves, I took water and Mod Podge, and you could do it with Elmer's glue as well, with some water and a skew, or you could use a pencil, anything long and circular, and wet the yarn and then wrapped it around, let it dry, untangle, pulled it off when it was dry, and it gave us these nice hard little curly cues. And then I said, cut the little stick, and then hot glued the leaf and the stick to the inside of the pumpkin. And there you go, folks. That was an awfully long tutorial for such a little thing, wasn't it? Apologize for my imperfections, but yes. Hey, don't forget your thummies. I appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye for now.